Hi there. Today in the movie review section I'd like to talk about the Scalphunters 1968 movie directed by Sidney Pollack, which is one of the classic Western films. Now, I grew up watching Western films, although we didn't call them that when I was a kid. We called them Cowboys and Indians, or in Liverpool just Cowies. We're going to see a Cowie. And every Saturday I would go to the West Derby cinema for the Saturday matinee for the kids, and it would show a serial, it would have cartoons, and it would have one or two feature films, and more often than not they would be Cowies. And whether they were the black and white films, or later sometimes you got the really great Technicolor movies, we enjoyed them. And then when they were showing a trailer, if the trailer was for a Western, we'd all cheer for that. We'd be watching that next week. So among the classic Western movies, Burt Lancaster has starred in quite a few of them. Aside from his other massive body of work for which he's been recognised for over the years. He was in, for example, The Professionals, which is one of the top Western films. In this film, he plays Joe Bass, who is a fur trader, and he's just had a season trapping furs, and he wants to trade them. And he is approached by a group of Kiowa who, instead of trading, they take his furs at gunpoint, but they give him a slave that they've themselves have traded from another tribe, who is Joseph Lee, played by Ossie Davis. Now, Joe Bass doesn't want a slave. He has no use for it at all, and in his mind probably is to get rid of him, trade him on, or do something with him later on. But he starts off with Joseph tethered to Burt Lancaster's horse, and off they go. Well, Joseph is a very well-educated man, and he's verbally very adroit. And by using his wits, he turns the tables, and he ends up riding the horse with Burt working, and Burt's convinced he got the better part of this transaction. So there's another strand is the Kiowa are then ambushed by a group of Scalphunters led by Telly Savalas. And this obviously gives the title to the movie. And just as an aside, John le Carre used the term Scalphunters for the section of his intelligence service, the Circus, in The Spy Who Came in the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and they were the active part of the intelligence service who did the heavy work. Blackmailing and kidnapping and so on. They were the Scalphunters. Anyway, Telly Savalas leads this bunch of cutthroats, and they steal the furs. So Joe Bass and Joseph start following them. And then yet another strand is Shelley Winters, who is driving a wagon full of saloon girls. And anyway, all these plots or strands become entwined in the plot, and it's a really, really fascinating story, and as I say, it's a classic Western. Now, out of the performances, Burt Lancaster, as I mentioned before, he's got a wide range of roles over the years. From Here to Eternity, he's been remembered for in that type of role. He's played lighter roles. He's played villains. One of his first films was a film noir, black and white, set in a prison. A fantastic performance. And in this, he kind of plays it straight, as a kind of straight man most of the time. He does give a glimmer of some of his sparkling humour, but mainly he plays it straight, and the humour is played by other people in the film. Ossie Davis almost steals every scene he's in. And when you realise that he's playing against Burt Lancaster, this is some impressive performance. William Goldman, the scriptwriter, who wrote Marathon Man and Butch Cassidy, Bridge Too Far, he said he would put Burt Lancaster up against anyone in the world at anything physical. Now, obviously it's an exaggeration, but it just shows the power, the physicality of the man. Telly Savalas, one of the best roles of his career, terrific in it. And Shelley Winters reminds us what a gorgeous lady she was back then in her role. So all in all, it's a really good film. And at the end of the film, Joe Bass and Joseph have a fight, and this is a little bit where Burt Lancaster's humour comes into it. He starts to sparkle a bit in this, and he employs dirty fighting. Joseph tries to fight Queensberry rules, but Burt uses every dirty trick in the book. But they end up in a river covered in mud, so that they're both unrecognisable, and you can't tell who the white man and the black man is in it, which are kind... I've imagined that was the point of that scene, that the differences then become absolutely marginal, and they actually then pool their resources to go off in search of the furs. A few years ago, when I was doing courses in Georgia, the very nice people who were running the range gave me a present, and it was something that they had found when they were excavating the range, and it's this. It's a Cherokee arrowhead, and for the kid who spent his Saturdays watching Western films, this was a really, really emotional present for me. And I have it in my cabinet with my souvenirs. And whenever I watch a Western, I always think of it. So I will be reviewing some of the other classic Westerns, no doubt. But I thought I'd start off with the Scalphunters.